Sabhasamudram Shirasadamami. The Sabha here that has recreated itself through Swami Sankalpam. It's still, most of this is unreal and magical in my head because I have always been on that side of the stage watching these artists, looking at them in wonder, thinking how is this possible, and this reversal is it's beyond the blessing that I could have ever asked for. So thank you for facilitating this and for giving me an opportunity to just be a medium for whatever has to emerge. I think when Akka and I had first had a conversation about what should be a topic for this evening, both of us had very, very interesting ideas, and somehow I was just waiting. I said, let him choose, let something come. And a topic emerged of its own accord. How many of you know what that is? Oh, everybody knows. I thought I'd do some big reveal. Okay, fine. So, this evening, it felt like it is a Somavaram. It is a day for Shiva Aradhana. And when I sat down to think about it, I realized amongst Devatas, if we look, most of us are very familiar with Krishna Katha. Most of us are, to a large degree, familiar with Rama Katha in Vishnu's avatars. It's not to say that we know every aspect of it, but there is a lot more familiarity. Even when we talk about Shiva, the large level of familiarhood begins and ends with Kailasa, where they take a family photo. But what is Shiva about? That was the question that has actually been with me, and selfishly I think I've also said this because I'm just coming back from Chidambaram. So I think that energy is still in this body, and I just felt that let that energy emerge this evening. So with that idea, I got into a question of one aspect of Shiva, one form of Shiva. If you look at different Devatas, the classification in Sanatana Dharma is very beautiful. Every Devata has three categories, and you can, in some senses, place a Devata in that category. So for example, when you say Vaishnavam, in Vishnu Svarupams, you will have Ugra Svarupams of Vishnu. Ugra does not mean fierce, Ugra means intense. Similarly, you will have Bhoga Svarupams. Bhoga Svarupams are the forms that are typically seated where you see couples, where you see Dampatis. So Vishnu with Lakshmi, Narasimha with Lakshmi, all of these would be forms of Bhoga Svarupams. The third would be Yoga Svarupams. Yoga Svarupams of any Devata are particularly for those seekers who are looking for Kaivalyam or are in certain spiritual pursuits. So each aspect of these Devatas will cater to that need. If you are in an urgent need, Ugra Narasimha or Jwala Narasimha will come to your rescue. That is the whole idea of Narasimha Upasana, because he came like this. The second aspect, that when you are looking for material pursuits and when you want to build that realm of your life, it is the Bhoga Swarupams that bless you. When you come past that and you are looking for your spiritual needs to be met and to grow and go further in that journey, it is the Yoga Swarupams. You can classify any Devata. Ambad, for example, you will see the fierce Swarupams such as Mahishasura Mardini and any Rakshasa Samharam will be all of the Ugra Swarupams. The Bhoga Swarupams, when she is as Bhavani or Kumara Ganesha Janani, and the Yoga Swarupams is when she is as Sharadamba, Saraswati, Shyamala Devi, all of these. Now the interesting thing is, when you apply this, you will see a conversation between these. These are not compartments where they don't interact with each other. It is the same goddess who changes the costume for Mahishasura Mardini and Annapurna. But what is beautiful is, sometimes and very rarely do you see that there are some murtis which are at the intersection of all three. So giving this classification, if you ask a question as to, in the forms of Shiva, you will see predominantly Yoga Swarupams. Because Shiva is in many ways the Adi Yogi. He is that source of Jnanam, he is Dakshinamurti. So from Dakshinamurti came all of the Yoga Shastra, came everything that inspired all knowledge in this world. When you look at him as Bhoga Swarupam, for as much as we call him as an ascetic, he is the only one who has the family photo. Even Vishnu does not have that much of a family photo with children and sometimes further with their own spouses as well. So Bhoga Swarupam, he defines there. Ugra Swarupam also he has a few. But which one would Mrityunjaya be, if you had to classify? Mrityunjaya, we see one predominant story of his emergence, which we will discuss today because the story is told in 3 or 4 sentences and the essence is missed out. But Mrityunjaya, I will tell you the story and then you classify for me and tell me, is he Ugra, is he Yoga, or is he Bhoga Swarupa? So this story of Mrityunjaya, for us Mrityunjaya as a name is if somebody is dying, because we associate it with just the first part. But apart from Mrityu, they give the second half of the name, which is Ajaya, the one who is above and cannot be defeated by Mrityu. And to communicate the power of this Swarupam, which is a very unique Swarupam. In Vaishnavam and Shaivam, there are two forms of Paramatma which are so unique, you don't see their recreation anywhere. Because those forms and the stories which enable those forms are very, very fascinating. So this is the story of a being that has to be born. And his Purva Janma Karma dictates that he is going to be an Alpayush. That is the Papam aspect, that he is going to go soon, Apamrityu. Amongst Mrityus, Sanatana Dharma is fantastic in terms of its understanding of Mrityu. It did not say Mrityu should never happen. It just said Akala Mrityu should not happen. It did not say people should live forever and ever and ever. When they said Shatamanam Bhavati, they did not literally mean Shata as 100. They said for as long as you need to be here, with all your Indriyas intact, happily. Living with tubes for 100 plus years is not counted as Shatamanam Bhavati. So, the whole idea that there is somebody here who has this previous life karma that he is going to go at a young age. But the beauty of karma is it comes as mishram, it comes as a mixture. It's not only his papa. There is also a good deed that he has done, many a good deed that he has done, which has given him some punya. So when he has to be born, Parameshwara chooses the right parents for every being. Because every being is matched according to their karma, saying these karmas will germinate in these wombs and then they will be taken care of in these environments. So that is the kind of attention that he has as a creator. We have this very constricted notion that Brahma alone does creation, Vishnu alone does sustenance, Shiva does destruction, and there is no interaction between these three offices. But the idea of Sanatana Dharma is it's one force at work. It is splitting itself as three. When it does that, when we look at one Paramatma that is doing this job of creation, he chooses one Rishi called Mrikandu. And Mrikandu is doing the tapas for a child. So when Mrikandu is asked by Parameshwara, I will bless you with a child, but I will give you two options. Do you want an Alpayush or do you want a Dirghayush? Which one would anyone pick? Dirghayush. But he gave an additional clause to that. He said if it is an Alpayush, he will be a Jnani. If it is Dirghayusha, he will be an Ajnani. Now you choose. Despite this, many a case exists where the opposite is chosen. Dhritarashtra, so long his children lived, so long he lived with his children, to what avail? Pandu, Akala Mrityu. But look what his children achieved versus what? So the entire idea of longevity, the entire idea that permanence is required in our journeys, these stories question that. Because they say, the time that we are here, like Akka so beautifully said, the journeys that we are on, how meaningful are those journeys? That's what it's about. It's not about the length. So he said, give me that. Give me that Alpayush Putra. But since he is a Jnani, that Jnanam will come to his rescue. Jnanam is not knowledge. Jnanam is Anubhavam. We've gotten into the habit of translating quickly and finding English equivalents. Jnanam is one such word for which there isn't an English equivalent. Because if it is about knowledge or textbook knowledge can only come up to some point. That is why Bhagavad Pada said, Nahi nahi rakshati dukrim karane. At the time that you are dying, if somebody is whispering a shlokam or a mantram into your ear, and then you are checking, is the grammar of that shlokam correct? Which vibhakti is it? Then you will be reborn in your next life as a grammar teacher. You will not get Paramapadam. So this idea that when this boy is now born, as much as his jnanam, his anubhavam of Shiva is growing, the father is also in the current context. And this is the dilemma that we're in. There is a spiritual mood. All of us also in our own journeys are deeply spiritual. But when life hits, there is a tussle between this and beyond. And that is what Mrityunjaya is about. He's about a tussle and how we respond to that beautiful tussle. So, the father knows that this boy is an Alpayush. He cannot change his destiny, but he knows one trick. He knows that whoever comes home, whichever Rishi comes to their home, whichever Rishi he makes that boy visit, he will immediately make him do a namaskaram to him in the hope that when that boy does the namaskaram, that Rishi will bless him saying Dirghayushman Bhava. But all the Rishis are also aware of Parameshwara Sankalpam. So they all say Akhanda Vidya Praptirastu, Shreyas Praptirastu. All of these things, nobody says Dirghayushman Bhava. Because Parameshwara's Shasana. Parameshwara said that, and that Rishi Sankalpam and Daiva Sankalpam is always the same. To understand this, you have to pick up Ramayana. Because what Paramatma had in mind, Rishis alone knew. Because Paramatma knew that he had to move from Ayodhya all the way down to Lanka for Ravana Samharam. Dasharatha and Kausalya did not know that. So for Dasharatha and Kausalya, it was Thumaka Chalata Ramachandra. And then emerges a Muni who said, come, I need your son for Yajna Rakshana. That Muni was the drashta of the Gayatri Mantra himself. Gayatri Devi gave Sakshatkaram to that Muni who is Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra cannot protect his own Yajna. The entire idea of Yajna was simply just an excuse, nimitta matram, to take Rama out of Ayodhya, then place Rama into Sita's hands and then move the rest of the story. Rishi Sankalpam works like that. So Rishi Sankalpam is moving in tandem in the story with Paramatma Sankalpam. So there is nobody who's saying it. The boy has been given 16 years of age. 16. Mrityunjaya, one number that's connected to him. All of this is wrapped up in story. They make it one khichdi and give it to you. It is up to a seeker to pull it out and say, oh, this is also here, like the mystery box in MasterChef. You have to sit when you get one dish and you have to analyze what all went into it. So this boy has been given 16 years of age. Time is passing. Rishis are blessing. Shiva Anubhuti is growing inside him, but the day is coming closer and closer. One fine day, along with the Saptarishis, Arundhati comes to their home, to the Rishis' ashramam to visit them. And Mrikandu immediately tells his son, because he was born to him, he was known as Markandeya, Mrikandu Tanaya Markandeya. So Markandeya does a namaskara. In Eka Kantham, in one voice, all the Saptarishis and Arundhati say, Dirghayushman Bhava. In that moment, Mrikandu is thrilled. Mrikandu is thrilled, somebody else arrives. That somebody else knows where to arrive, how to arrive, when to arrive, exactly when the climax is at work. And he laughs. That is Narada Muni. So nobody else has said anything because everybody is aware of Parameshwara Sankalpam. These are all siddhas, these are all yogis. The kind of awareness they have is not just about their surroundings, it's about something beyond. So nobody up till now has said anything that would violate that condition. But suddenly, with the Saptarishi saying this, everybody is stunned saying, what about Parameshwara's will? Narada alone laughs. The Saptarishis look at Narada and say, why are you laughing? He said, I am laughing because Veda Vak, the word of the Veda, the eternal word of the Veda, is going to be proven untrue for the very first time in history. Veda Vak is the truth that is encoded in the Veda. Veda is not a book. Our understanding is that Veda is a book. Veda is Akhanda Jnana Rashi, the compilation of ageless and timeless wisdom, which is captured and then passed on generation to generation, saying this is a way to live. So that methodology of passing it down has certain truths which are mentioned and which are reiterated, not as question marks saying perhaps this is true, perhaps not. Vedam speaks with a finality. One of the ideas of Vedam is when a rishi, when a yogi, when somebody with an awareness beyond the physical realm speaks, what they speak will come true. This awareness has passed on even in our daily traditions. When somebody does puja, immediately after that, they're asked, at least in the older generation, they would only say something shubham. Because kinchit siddhi, even a little bit of siddhi, gives you a power. So what you utter at that time matters. So all of these Saptarishis have uttered something. And Veda is saying that what a Saptarishi utters is always going to be true. But Parameshwara has said this boy has only 16 years. So now, which one is going to be untrue? So Narada says Veda Vak is going to be fruitless. Veda Vak is going to be untrue. What is going to happen to the world? And Narada snickers and leaves. The Saptarishis are troubled. So the Saptarishis immediately go to Brahma. Take the boy along with him. And when they go, they ask Brahma a question. They say, this predicament is a very, very difficult one for us. Because what we uttered, we also did not plan to utter it. But it came out of us. Now, we want to know how are we going to deal with this? Because if he has to become a Dirghayusha, for that to happen, Parameshwara's Shasanam has to change. Parameshwara has not sent any notification to any of our WhatsApps that anything is changing. So how are we going to do it? Brahma listened and looked at the boy and he said, I've heard what they have to say. What do you have to say? The boy responded so calmly. He said, I am not concerned about my age. but I can see that my father is consumed with worry about my age. Can you give my father peace of mind? Since you're asking me what I want, all I want is for my father to be at ease. Brahmadeva says the only way your father will be at ease is if you become a long living boy. If you live for a very long time. So for that to happen, let me now instruct you and bring you into the world of Shiva Anubhuti at a very, very different stage. So Brahma gives this boy the Panchakshari Diksha. The idea that of Diksha, the idea that of Guru Sampradayam is not just about receiving something. It's particularly important to understand because we look at knowledge in a very transactional way, saying I received this from so and so, good. But the idea is when somebody is passing on something to you, knowledge of any kind, they're passing on what has been honed and developed in their bodies, minds and souls, they're pouring it into you. They're pouring their own prana shakti along with that into you. Brahma is a Mahashiva Bhakta. We have this notion that, oh, Brahma, he went off becoming a swan on top, very bad guy. No, Shiva does not look at Brahma like that. So Shiva knows what kind of a Bhakta Brahma is. And when Brahma passed on that sadhana to this boy, he told him, go to that Mahakshetram where every sadhana will attain Siddhi. That Mahakshetram is Kashi. So the boy went to Kashi Nagari. He's sitting there and he's doing his japam. By now, years have passed and that fateful day has arrived. On the 16th year, at the time that he's supposed to go, somebody is supposed to come. Who is supposed to come? So here is where the story makes us think a little bit more. Yama doesn't come for everybody. In movies he does. But for the most part, Yamadutas will come. Ajamila also went. Yama didn't have to come himself. He sent Dutas directly. When a Dharmatma has to go, when somebody whose life has been spent completely focused on the divine in any form, at that time, honoring, even Devatas will honor them. So Yama himself comes. Now when Yama comes, this boy is sitting on Ganga Tatam, on the banks of Ganga, and he is deep in Shivaradhana. He has made a Parthiva Lingam. Parthiva means Prithvi, a lingam out of Prithvi. Amongst the various Shivalingas, because the concept of Marakata Linga just so beautifully came, Parvati is once said to have asked Parameshwara, amongst all the lingas, there is Prithvi Lingam, there is Marakata Lingam, there is Ratna Lingam, there are so many different kinds of lingams. Which is your favorite? And he said, Atma Lingam. And she said, I didn't ask for Tattvam, I just asked for material. And she said, and Parameshwara responds saying, if somebody takes a mound of earth and makes a lingam out of it and worships me then and there and then dissolves it immediately after, that makes me immensely happy. That is called Parthiveshwara Archana or Parthiva Linga Archana. Because the father liked it, the son also liked the exact same thing. That's why once a year we make him out of mud. Because the idea of mud, the most gross of all the Panchabhutas, takes us to the most subtle one. That link is established from earth all the way up till Parakasha. But that will lead into a very different subject. So for now we'll come back to our little boy of 16 years of age who's sitting there deep in this Aradhana of Parthiveshwara. And when he is doing this Aradhana, Yama has come. Yama does not come disclosing his identity to everybody around. Yama comes in a form that only the Jiva sees. But this boy is such a Jnani, already he can see Yama has come. He requests Yama saying, my Shivachana is not over. Let my Shivachana finish, then you take me. But Yama says, time and tide wait for none. I have come, I have to do my work. Now think about this story, because when we go through this story very quickly, Yama for us is the villain. That Yama comes and in all the cinematic descriptions, it's such a violent moment. But who sent Yama here in the very first place? Parameshwara only sent him. Imagine that situation, no, where the boss has told a clerk, you come at 5 p.m. and you turn off all the lights, lock the office and go. 5 p.m. he comes ready to do all this and the boss says, hey, what are you doing here? It's very confusing. Yama is just doing his dharma. But the caveat is this. Yama came to do his dharma and was sidestepping the boy's dharma. He was not recognizing, I am doing my dharma, but what dharma am I stopping? What dharma am I blocking by my presence here? He forgot and lost sight of that. In that moment is where the climax of the story is. What does the boy do according to most versions? The boy calls out to Shiva. But the boy does not say anything saying, protect me. The boy says, Chandrashekara ashraye mama kim karishyati vai yamaha. What will Yama do to me if I hold on to Chandrashekara? Two interesting things about this. First of all, a question. What will Yama do to me? It's a rhetorical question. The second thing, The svarupam of Shiva that comes is supposed to come and protect him from death. Mrityu himself has come now. So Mrityunjaya should come and protect him. But he didn't call out to Mrityunjaya, he called out to Chandrashekara. This is the connection. And that's why I thought it was particularly beautiful on a Somavaram, a day that is associated with Chandra, to talk about Chandrashekara. Why would he call out to Chandrashekara? Because the Ashtakam that Markandeya composed in that moment is called the Chandrashekara Ashtakam, which describes Shiva in great detail as a Dhyana Swarupam. In between, we have also additionally inserted the verses Chandrashekara, Chandrashekara, Chandrashekara Pahimam and Rakshamam. But there are versions that exclude this. So did Markandeya say Rakshamam or not? If you look at the rhetoric, it's highly doubtful that he said it. Because he didn't look like he was somebody who was confused and was worried. Chandrashekara, please come. He just said, Mama kim karishyati vayyamaha. In that moment, he continued one more stavam and he said, Namami shirasa devam kimno mrityuk karishyati. When I bow down to you, what will Mrityu do to me? Because you are Kalagnya, you are Kalamurti, you are Kala Shasana. Yama's name is Kala. Yama himself is the regulator of time. You are above time. This concept you have to catch on to very, very carefully. Here lies the rahasyam. Time, Chandra, 16. This talks about how this boy understands Shiva. For him, Shiva is not somebody who is only with this Jata Jotam and a Chandra and a Ganga. For him, Shiva is an experience inside. To go to that experience, he's taking the help of time. Because up till his time is over, he wants to use this time to go to a timeless state. But now time is coming and poking him, saying, let's go. And then he says, no, let me finish what I have begun. And in that moment, why does he say Chandrashekara? Chandra, which he holds on his head, for this reason he gets the name Chandrashekara. Which digit of Chandra does he hold on his head?
Pire.
Sorry?
Pire?
Yeah, Pire, but typically it's... Yeah, which number would this be? Is it? Lucky guess, because I said 16 is Mrityunjaya's number. So how does Chandra look on the 15th day in the waxing phase? Yeah, waxing would be Purnima, or Amavasya. But if you look at Shiva and if you do Dhyanam of Shiva daily, along with the changing digits of the moon, his head, that Chandra will not change. That Chandra will remain like that only. So when it is Ashtami, it will not be Ashtami Chandra over here. It is always going to be a crescent moon over here. 15 digits of the changing moon. Padyami, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti and so on and so forth until Purnima / Amavasya. One digit of the moon is not changing. These are all called Vriddhi Kalas. The Kalas that change. Every day there is a change. Sometimes the change comes during the day. When that change comes exactly in the evening between Dwadashi and Trayodashi, we celebrate that as a Shiva Paravam, calling it as Mahapradosha Kala. So every day the moon itself is changing, but this moon is not changing on his head. That which is not changing itself, but is causing everything else to change, that is Paramatma. Paramatma does not keep the growing Chandra or the waxing or the waning Chandra on his head. He keeps the Chandra that is causing that Chandra to move. He is regulating time. He is unaffected by time. Time is relative. If you want to understand this, you should see on Ekadashi morning, there will be so much confusion. Oh, yesterday over for you. Oh, okay. Every time, because it is Maha relative to the place and time that you are in. But this is all Kala. He is Mahakala. For him, there is a state of timelessness. So this Mahakaleshwara is the one that this boy is praying to. And this boy is saying that Chandra resides in your head. That Chandra, the 16th digit of Chandra is called as Sadakala. That Sada, it is eternal. That Sadakala is causing all these elements to change and time is changing. But I want to reach that state of timelessness. So that one who can help me get to that state of timelessness, that Chandrashekara I am reaching out to. That definition that he gave is exactly the definition of a guru. That one who helps us reach that state of timelessness in this current time and context. That Swarupam only is Chandrashekara. There it is Chandrashekara, here it is Chandrashekharendra Saraswati. Kinchit Bhedam, but Tattvam is exactly the same. Now if you understand that and the role that the Guru plays in our lives, it's the same. So this boy has reached out to Shiva. And now from the lingam, he has emerged. Apatalana bhastalanta bhuvana brahmandamavis purat jyotis patika lingam aulilasat purnendu vantamrutahi. That lingam that this boy was worshipping was this much. But when you do Archana, what the size of the murti is in front of you matters not at all. What matters is your bhavam. You can have this much. This is the Samskriti that we are in. That you can take a little bit, a mound of turmeric and place it in front of you, and Mahaganapati, you can do Avahanam in that. It doesn't mean Mahaganapati is this size. It means you do dhyana of somebody who's reaching a apatala and a bhastalanta bhuvana. He goes all the way up till the 7th patala and up till the 7th urdhva loka. Chaturdasha lokas he is covering with jyoti svarupam alone. That is the bhavam you have. If you have that, he will emerge like that. So he emerged like that. And this is what differentiates this avataram of Swami, this svarupam. Because if you look at Paramatma, whenever Paramatma has to incarnate, he will make sure that all his work is very cleanly divided. What is his work? Largely Bhakta Rakshana, to protect those who need him. Dushta Shikshana, to teach a lesson where it is required. Both of those will happen in very different contexts. Look at Ramavataram. When Dasharatha, Kausalya, all of that love that he has to show them, or Shabari, or Guha, or any of them that he needs to show that love to and then help them attain moksha, different context. Ravanasura Samharam, that Rama is very, very different. You want to understand who that Rama is, you should pick up Vedanta Dikshitar's Raghuvira Gadyam. That power of Rama will come out over there. Karunyam, different moment. This costume, that costume, don't mix. Krishna Avataram also same condition. Very rarely do you see. Narsimha Avataram is one exception. Prahalada and Hiranyakashipu. I'm glad you all hesitated a little bit. You're thinking of Narsimha, good only. Both of them are in the same place at the same time. Difficult situation. Because Karunyam and Veeram can be mutually exclusive for human beings. It is very difficult for us to be compassionate and angry at the same time. It's not difficult for him. What Narasimha is in Vaishnavam, Mrityunjaya is in Shaivam. So here, in this Svarupam, Markandeya and Yama did an Atikramana. He overstepped his boundary by saying, whether you're doing Shivachana or any other Archana, this is my time to rule. That is superseding the Lord. So he has to be taught a lesson. Markandeya has now taken refuge in Shiva. This taking refuge is a beautiful concept because Vedam talks about it in very, very interesting ways. It says, there's a verse, a very beautiful verse in the Rudram that comes. If you read the Rudram with that kind of bhavam, you realize, wow, what are we saying? This verse says, you promised that you will do something. So now by virtue of that promise, please uphold your own word. Your own word is where? In the Vedam. In the Vedam, what did you say? That even if somebody has Purva Janma Karmas, one time if they come and say that they are my people, if they declare themselves to be mine, then I will take care of them. That is exactly what that bhavam of the composition, Ramuni Varamu, Makemi Vicharamu. What fear do we have when we are Rama's people? This same bhavam is there in Vedam as Adhyavochata Devakta Prathamo Devyo Bhishak. You be my spokesperson when all these forces come and attack me. These forces are not cruel in nature. Nobody is attacking us out of any great vendetta towards us. They're simply coming to us because of our Purva Janma Karma. This boy also had. Now when they come, because of that one aspect of my own declaration and my complete submission to you, you said you will protect me. So now because you said that, you come and act. This is how beautifully Vedam tricks Paramatma, because it says, Neene eltane, nane nelilla. You said it, you prove yourself to be true. Shankaracharya knew this so beautifully. That's why he said, Janitri pitacha swaputra paradham sahetena kim devasenadhinatha. Isn't it a very normal thing for parents to forgive their children? So by that logic, oh Subramanya, aham chati balo, I'm just a boy. Bhavan, you, lokatataha, kshamasva paradham. So since you are the father of all these worlds and I'm just a child, you forgive me. When you get to that level of intimacy with him, you can demand. If we go and demand like that, it may not work. But that demand comes from not only that intimacy, but from knowing his nature. That is why when you have to understand Shiva, those beautiful words, Anbe Shivan, that love with Shiva, that love he has for Markandeya. Because Markandeya did not worship with the idea of wanting to be immortal. That is why Markandeya became a Chiranjeevi. That is why we think of Markandeya on Janmadinam. Because the idea is when somebody is in that cycle, that samsara chakram, and they're not looking for an escape. This is one of the greatest philosophies that merges everything and still puts everything else aside. In the sense, we all look at moksha as the ultimate escape from all this. But for a bhakta, even moksha is secondary. It says, let me remain in prema bhava. Let me have Sada Tvatpadabja Smarana Paramananda Lahari. Sada Tvatpadabja, let me eternally meditate on your lotus feet. That's enough for me. Because then I don't need any moksha. Moksha is also secondary. Janabai had this bhava. Janabai, beautiful, phenomenally strong devotee of Vithala, said, Tuze charana ghali na meethi, when I see your beautiful feet in front of me, sadi na hire vaikunthi. Why do I need vaikuntha when I have you in front of me? So for Markandeya, this is that moment. The Lord of Lords, who he has spent his entire Ayush on thinking about, has now manifested for him. He is not asking him anything. Parameshwara is looking at him. Parameshwara has karunyam towards him, but Parameshwara is looking at the other person who is now in quite a predicament because he has put the Yama Pasham on him. The Yama Pasham will cause you to come back into samsara. But the boy had Panchakshari. The boy had Shiva Bhakti. Panchakshari alone he did not have. He had Panchakshari with that Shiva Bhakti. Because that combination is an assurance that the Lord will emerge. So the Lord is watching the Pasham and he said, Yama, remove the Pasham. This is one folk variation in which Yama hesitates and he said Parameshwara. But Parameshwara's is also called Bhiti Shasanam. That he sits and he says, this is how it is, this is how it is. So whether the boss earlier said come at 5 o'clock and wrap up, and if the boss has changed his mind now, nobody changes and questions that. Tanme mana Shiva Sankalpamastu. Shiva's Sankalpam did not change on a whim or a fancy. It changed because of the power of this boy's bhakti. What differentiates bhakti from any other kind of emotion is that to this one emotion, Paramatma becomes a dasa. The Nayanmars talk about this so beautifully, saying, it's only a matter of becoming his bhakta. Once you become a bhakta to him, he will actually become a dasa to that bhakta. Once he came now, he's looking at Yama, and with his left foot, he chooses to kick him. Left foot because Shakti, Vame Bhage Dayardra Himagiri Tanaya. On the left side is the daughter of the mountains. She is doing all the work. In every avataram, she is only doing all the work. He is just the Sakshi. In Adhyatma Ramayanam, Sita says, Rama doesn't move, Rama doesn't sit, Rama doesn't walk. It is me who is doing everything. Everybody is getting the illusion that Rama is doing it. That illusion is also me because I am Mahamaya. That is how powerfully embedded she is. Mrityunjaya, the left side, kicked him. Mrityunjaya is already showing his Ardhanarishwara svarupam over here. We have this notion Ardhanarishwara is exact, that calendar print where correctly that Rudraksha will become a gem. Correctly in half side like a central axis, bilateral symmetry, they'll have. Ardhanarishwara is about the divine feminine and the divine masculine constantly in a conversation with each other. The Lasya and the Tandava is always at work. She knows what to do, when to do, and he knows when he has to step back. So now in this moment, when the left foot Yama is kicked by Parameshwara himself, he falls back. And Markandeya is looking on in awe. And in that moment, Shiva says, for what you have done now, for what you have done leading up to this moment, it is not one climatic moment. It is never this in Sanatana Dharma. It's not by virtue of what you have done now. It is the thoughts, the sentiments, and the power leading up to this moment. I will give you Chiranjivitva. I will give you the blessing to live on eternally, and you will be an example of what Shiva Bhakti is. So saying this, Shiva now earns a very beautiful name of Kala Samhara Murti. That's Swarupam, which defeated Kala itself. But look at Shiva. In this context, we call him as Mrityunjaya, the one who defeated Mrityu. Up till this much we know. This is the context of Mrityunjaya that we know. So Mrityunjaya is that Swarupam that protects us from Mrityu. So therefore, if anybody is feeling uneasy or there's a prana sankatam at hand and it feels like, yes, life may go, the first devata to do a namaskaram to is Mrityunjaya. Why we said he's identical to Narsimha is because Prahalada's pranam was in sankatam. Because Hiranyakashipu said, if that Lord is there in the stambham, let that Lord come and protect your life. Protecting life means any Swarupam that you see of any Devata who protects life is Mrityunjaya. All we need to do is to be able to recognize where is Mrityunjaya Tattvam and why is Mrityunjaya Tattvam relevant to us? Why are we talking about him? We don't have any fear of Akala Mrityu, no? We don't know that. We don't know what is written for us. Just as Akka was saying, if you double click the lives of each of us, imagine how many double clicks he's doing because he has so many of our income tax folders pending from so many lives saying, okay, all these charges I must levy on them. We don't know what's in store. But is that all that Mrityunjaya is then? Just for the fear of Apamrityu? Is that all we need to do namaskaram to him? We pick up another beautiful aspect of who does Mrityunjaya come for? Who does that Parameshwara come for? He comes for a being who is asking a question. He comes for a being who wants to experience him. If you want to understand this, you will see Mrityunjaya in our kshetras. You will see Mrityunjaya in our itihasas, in our Puranas. You will see the ways that he comes are so beautiful. Because Mrityunjaya is not just the svarupam of Shiva. He is the act of prana raksha. You want to understand this? Shall we do a deep dive into the Ramayana? Here, in this moment in the Yuddha Kanda, there is great fear in the Vanara camp. Because the war is underway. And Ravana is trying every possible way to get him by hook or by crook. He wants to win over Rama. But there is one problem. By brute strength, he is not able to do it. He tried a little bit of Maya on Sita also, it did not work. Then he called his son, who is adept at Maya. And he told this son, you can take him to Patalam. You take Rama and Lakshmana to Patala, and there you do some Kshudra Prayojana. Kshudra Prayojana is negative usage of energy. Use the energy, the sadhana that you have built up, use it in a negative way and take Rama and Lakshmana's pranam there. Now, there is one person on this side of the camp who, by virtue of being Ravana's brother, acts as a spy. He also gets that information from that side and comes. So Vibhishana comes and tells Jambavan and Hanuman that look, Rama and Lakshmana need to be protected because Ravana is called his son. His son's name is Mahiravana. He has called his son. This fellow will come. Full costume ella change ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿರಿ. Nobody knows when he'll come. So Hanuman says, absolutely no worry. I will create an enclosure for them with my tail in which nobody else can see, nobody else can enter except Vibhishana, Jambavan. Only these guys have been given the passes. So Hanuman creates this, Rama and Lakshmana are inside. Soon after, Vibhishana comes and he says, can I go and talk to them? So Hanuman allows him entry. Minutes later, Vibhishana comes again. And Hanuman says, didn't you just go in? And Vibhishana says, no, I didn't. And then Hanuman realizes and he runs inside, by which time there's no Rama or Lakshmana. And then he realizes they've gone. That point, he uses his sadhana and he recognizes where they have gone. So he also follows in Patalam. There in Patalam, when he enters, he sees something very strange. Rama and Lakshmana are in a jail. But he doesn't go there first. He becomes a bee. And he's just surveying the entire area to figure out what's happening here. When he goes, he sees a shrine of Kali Devi over there. For us, Kali, Tantrikam, all this is Adela and Radha Krishna Mattum Porum. Kali is not a fierce force because that Kali spoke to Hanuman and she said, come here. Mahiravana thinks he's going to sacrifice Rama and Lakshmana tomorrow. For that plan to be foiled, you need to step in now. You need to become their Prana Rakshaka. You can see who is coming now. So she gives him a plan that only she and he know. And she tells him, Mahiravana is being protected because there are 5 lamps in 5 parts of this Patalam that are lit. All those 5 lamps need to be extinguished at the same time for his pranam to go. You see the sanketas of yoga over here, prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, pancha pranas inside us. These pranas, as long as they are there, we are also there. Interestingly, Sanatana Dharma does not distinguish or does not dictate our ayu based on number of days. So when we say our kalam is fixed, what it means is, it is based on the number of pranas that we do. That is why they said simply don't get angry at all. Jasti prana hogbidutte, then your time comes sooner. But don't use that as a reason not to do exercise, because exercising may make you quickly breathe a little faster, but you're supposed to regulate pranam at that point. So this Mahiravana's pranam is protected in these panchadipas that are representing the pancha pranas. They all have to be extinguished at the same time, but they are in 5 corners. So, for you to extinguish them, anybody cannot do it. You alone can do it. Shiva alone has that capability of prana raksham because he has panchavadanas. That Shiva has panchavadanas. Satyojata, Vamadeva, Aghora, Tatpurusha, Ishana. This Anjaneya Swami is also identical. This Anjaneya Swami has panchamukhas. This Panchamukha Anjaneya. Have you seen this Panchamukha Anjaneya? What are the faces in Panchamukha Anjaneya? So the first one is Anjaneya Mukham. Then comes Garuda Mukham. Then comes Varaha Mukham, Narasimha Mukham, and on top comes Hayagriva Mukham. All these 5 Hanuman employs here. He doesn't show it in the Ramayana. Hanuman is very careful about where he shows it. He shows the mukhas not in terms of appearance but in terms of the work that he does. If we have time, we'll explore that later. So Hanuman takes note that he has to do this. And then, not only does he stop it at this, he takes it one step further and Kali tells him, Mahiravana will bring Rama and Lakshmana to the sacrificial altar and say that he is performing a yajna, and in that yajna, as an ahuti, Rama and Lakshmana's head must be cut. You take care at that point. When Paramatma has to take care of his bhaktas. In this case, in Ramayana, we all read it just in one unilateral fashion. Hanuman is a bhakta of Rama. In this case, the reverse is happening. Because Bhagavan has come now. In this case, Rama becomes the bhakta. Rama and Sita are the greatest bhaktas of Hanuman. For that, we'll have another session on Ramayana separately. But in this case, Rama and Lakshmana come. We will certainly do that. And Rama and Lakshmana, Hanuman goes and meets them in the jail as a bee, and he whispers saying, Swami, tomorrow morning is when he wants to sacrifice you. Whatever has to happen, just follow what I tell you to do. And he whispers an instruction. They both come the next morning. Mahiravana brings them there. Nobody sees this little bee, nobody takes any notice of it. So Rama is garlanded, Lakshmana is garlanded because they're about to be sacrificed. When they're about to be sacrificed, Mahiravana does all the rest of the puja vidhanam and he tells them, bow your head down, lay your head onto this yupam. Yajna Yupam is the place where Pashus are sacrificed or Narabali is also offered. So he says, lay your head on this. Rama says, where? He says, here, in front of you. Oh, I don't know how to do it. What do you mean you don't know how to? I am a Kshatriya Kula. I am a prince of the Ayodhya Vamsham, of the Ikshvaku Vamsham. I have never bowed down. I don't know what it is to bow down. Why don't you show me how to do it? Then I'll do it. So Mahiravana says, whatever. And he just steps forward to bow his head just to show him how to do it. In that one moment, Rama picks up the sword that is with him, that is with the image of Kali. There are two versions of this. One says that Rama picks up the sword. The second says that Hanuman picks up the sword and he kills Mahiravana in that moment. In this moment, Hanuman gives darshana to Rama as Mrityunjaya Swami. Because now in this moment, he did prana raksha for him. And Rama remembers this. Not only Rama, the rest of them also remember this. Later in the Yuddha, so he takes them back to the Yuddha Bhumi. He is Mrityunjaya, but he did not fight the war and kill Ravana himself. Because every being must go through their own dharma. Rama is Paramatma, absolutely no doubt. But the beautiful interplay that Shiva and Vishnu have talk about how each of us must go through our journeys. That is why later in the Ramayana, nobody has forgotten this. In the same Yuddham, there is a moment when Indrajit has covered everybody with sarpastras. And in that moment, Ravana even uses Maya to convince Sita that all of them are dead. But this sarpastra does not work on three people. One, Vibhishana, because he is Ravana's brother. Second is Jambavan, on virtue of his age. Third is Hanuman, because he has a varam that no astram will attack him. So, when all of the Vanarasena, including Rama and Lakshmana, are bound down like this, there is a point when Vibhishana loses slight consciousness and he comes back, he sees Jambavan there. Jambavan is okay, but everyone else is like this. He comes to Jambavan and he asks him one question. Is Hanuman alright? And Jambavan is looking around. Sorry, I beg your pardon, the reverse happens. Jambavan is the one who becomes unconscious and comes to Vibhishana. And Jambavan comes to Vibhishana and asks him only one question. Is Hanuman alright? Vibhishana gets irritated. He says, Tata, you should ask if Rama is alright, if Lakshmana is alright, if the rest of the Vanarasena is alright. You're asking about Hanuman. Jambavan says, Vibhishana, if one Hanuman is alright, we will all be alright. If one Hanuman is alive, we will all be alive. If one Hanuman is dead, even if we are all alive, it's as good as dead. That is the respect they have for him as Prana Rakshaka. That is why in Apat Kalam, in that moment of difficulty, Hanuman, Apana Teja Samharo Ape, he reduces his Teja and then comes. Because his entire Teja we cannot take. But he shows just a portion of that magnanimity. Because he understands time, he understands the power of time and how he leverages it for the sake of a bhakta. That idea, you see Mrityunjaya there as a Rama bhakta. Mrityunjaya is extremely fond of Rama. Shiva is so fond of Rama. You understand this? We have to go to the same kshetram that Markandeya went to. Which was that kshetram? Kashi kshetram. In Kashi kshetram, you will notice this spectacular happening which continues till date, which has been the case from time immemorial. Anybody whose body is on the Manikarnika Ghat, the bodies that go in Kashi, I'm not talking about those who leave their pranam elsewhere and are brought to Kashi. That is more of a business idea that has developed now. But there is the notion, as we all know, that Kashyantu Maranan Muktihi. Those who lose their pranam in Kashi, for them Mukti is guaranteed. But if you see this in both the Manikarnika Ghat as well as the Harishchandra Ghat, you will see something very extraordinary and very peculiar. Nobody's body will be fully flat. Their ears, their skull will be tilted slightly to the left side. meaning the left ear will be touching the pyre, closer to the pyre, the right ear will be open. This happens on Manikarnika Ghat till date. There is not a single body which is flat like this. This is because of what happens in that ghat, which we cannot see through Charma Chakshu. On that ghat till day, what Swami promised about how he gives mukti in Kashi, people like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa have seen. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa describes this so very beautifully when the entire notion that Kashyantu Maranan Muktihi, for mukti rather, to go, you need a guru to bless you. You need a guru to give you a mantram, and you have to do sadhana of that mantram. And once you do that sadhana, then you surrender all of that bhavam to the guru, and the guru will pull your prana up till your Sahasrara Chakram. This is the normal journey for any being that is on a spiritual path. But in the case of Kashi, by virtue of dying alone, how does this happen? How is it that just by losing your pranam, the rest of the process is compromised on? Sanatana Dharma never said it's compromised. It does the same thing at 3x speed, just like your WhatsApp audio notes have 2x now, and in a few days they'll have 20x. This speed happens there in Kashi also. Because you have to go through the process. You cannot just say, oh, I just died in Kashi, so automatically, directly I'll be transported by Uber, XL. No. There is a process in place. The process is what? The Guru must come. For the Guru to come, first, the mother, the maternal aspect of the Guru must emerge and have a compassionate stance towards that being, saying, oh, you wanted to die in Kashi, no? Come. So this is what happens in Kashi till date. Jagannatha takes the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle Shariram. Sukshma Sharira is this much versus our Shariram, which is 6 feet, 5 feet, whatever it may be. Sukshma Sharira is hidden inside here. Jagannatha takes that Sukshma Sharira and looks at all the heat of various lives through which it is burning. She takes the tip of her sari and fans that jiva with it. As that heat fades away, she then calls her younger son. This is a dhyanam. This entire thing is a dhyanam. There's a possibility to envision it because it is what happens every kshanam in Kashi. When a pranam goes, this is the immediate sequence after it. This is not coming based on the speaker's imagination. This is what Shastram and the Anubhavam of yogis is, which is being shared here. So Jagannatha, once this being as they are being fanned, she calls her younger child and she says, Ganapati, go and bring Ganga Jalam. And Ganapati goes taking his trunk to Ganga, who is right there, and brings the water back and pours it on the jivam to rid them of that tapam. Mrityunjaya svarupam. Mrityunjaya has 3 components to him. 1, the Chandra that we spoke about, which is the Amrita Kala or the Sada Kala. The second is Ganga. That name itself is enough to purify us. That Jalam is being brought for a Jiva over here, and the Jiva is washed in the Ganga Jalam. He's washed of all his impurities. In our lives, what we have to go through when we are alive, saying when we are washed of our impurities, when the divine feminine, Jagannatha, has taken that kind of compassion to us, then comes the Guru. The Guru coming is not an Instagrammable episode saying, oh yes, he found me. It happens when there is Chitta Shuddhi, when there is Karma Samskaram that has now opened itself. Then she calls him from inside, and the Lord of Katyayani comes. When he comes, Karpura Spatikendra Sundaratanum Katyayani Sevitam, he comes and he takes that Jiva. He takes the Jiva in front of him, puts him in such a way that he turns the body of the Jiva such that the right ear receives the mantram. And inside his ear, he whispers the Taraka Mantra. Taraka Mantra means that mantra which helps us cross over. What that mantra is, nobody knows because it remains an intimate secret between the one who passed it on and the one who receives it. The power of Kashi is such that what takes lifetimes for us to hold on to that mantram that the Guru gave, chant it with Shraddha and then be eligible for Guru's Karunyam and Bhagavat Karunyam, in Kashi it happens in seconds. That is why they said do Kshetra Sadhana. They didn't say it just so we can tick off our list saying Char Dham done, Jyotirlinga done, Shakti Pitha done. They said it saying go again and again and again and earn yourself that right to be able to stand and say, Swami, you do the rest of the magic now. So he whispers a Taraka Mantra. Taraka Mantras are so many in nature, but for us, the most common is that 13-syllable Taraka Mantra. Shri Rama, Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. That is the mantra that Parameshwara whispers into a Jiva's being. Parameshwara whispers Rama Namam inside a Jiva here. In the Ramayana, he does the same thing throughout, saying wherever he goes, he is doing Sada Rama Nama Japam. That Parameshwara here, that is truly Mrityunjaya, because here he's taking them to a state beyond Mrityu. There in the Katha, he's doing it in a different way. So when you look at a character is a very poor word to describe Parameshwara, but when you look at his quality, that what he is doing as a rahasyam in a kshetram, he is doing it in a Katha format freely and out for everybody to see, it talks about how he is speaking to us. Because Mrityunjaya is saying, you want to go out of this samsara, here is your escape methodology. All you need to do is take namam, and take namam with that belief and faith that that namam will lift you. Find that namam in your kala. Let your art be that namam. But hold on to it to the point that it drenches you. This is the third aspect of Mrityunjaya. If you look at the svarupams of Shiva, the amount of dynamism, the kind of power that Shiva's svarupams have are extraordinary. There is one svarupam where he dances, and that dancing is while pulling the hide of an elephant out. So if you see in olden temple sculptures, especially during the Chola periods, you will see this gorgeous sculpture where the base of an elephant, this is a Rakshasa that he killed, an elephant Rakshasa that he killed, this will be on his foot, where he is stamping it firmly, and he will be pulling across the hide. So the sculpture will be so beautiful, you'll see the elephant hide with 4 elephant legs and a tail on top. This is called Gajasamhara Murti. While doing all of this, he'll be dancing. That power, that dynamism, only he is capable of. Every Swarupam of Shiva, if you look at him as Adi Kirata is the primordial hunter. That Adi Kirata Swarupam of Shiva is that Swarupam which came and blessed Arjuna. Each Swarupam will have its unique aspects, and there will be a Rahasyam hidden in there. If you just look and envision what is this Swarupam saying to me, it will teach you about how to connect with Shiva. The Swarupam of Mrityunjaya, the Swarupam that we saw which came to kick Yama and remained in that form as Kala Samhara Murti is one aspect. But the eternal Swarupam of Mrityunjaya is a little different and very beautiful, just to visualizing what is the Swarupam and what is the magic. If you look at Shiva in this form, he has 8 hands. 4 hands are on top, and these 4 hands are holding 4 kalashas, 4 Purna Kumbhas. Those Purna Kumbhas are pouring Amritam on him. Amritena Plutam Shantam Divya Bhoga Samanvitam. As that Amritam is being poured onto him, the other 2 hands, one is holding an Akshamala. Akshamala has 51 different beads on it, representing the 51 Aksharas. All mantras come from Aksharas. So the root of all mantras, the root of all nada is here in my hands, he is saying. And in the other hand, he is holding a Mrigi Mudra. The Mriga Mudra represents the mind. Sometimes you also see Shiva holding the deer, the Mriga Hastam. Instead of that, he is holding the mind here, because this is such a beautiful connection. We say Manovega, Vayuvega. We also say Garuda Vega for the courier. But Manovega is the speed with which the mind works, is simply extraordinary because it moves at that speed. For that they used a deer, because a deer is known for its speed. So he says, when the mind is controlled and you are doing japam, at that point, so this is 4 hands on top, 2 are here. How many left? Okay, everybody's alert. The bottom 2 hands, interestingly, are holding 2 more kumbhas. So he is bathing himself. This is Mrityunjaya Swarupam. He is bathing himself entirely, and when these pots become empty, the 2 hands at the bottom will replace them. So constantly there is a downpour. This is Mrityunjaya, who has Gauri by his side, watching this entire scene. What is he pouring on himself? Water. What he is pouring on himself is Amritam. That Amritena Plutam Shantam Divya Bhoga Samanvitam, the Rudra Dhyana Shlokam talks about this, saying, when you do Dhyanam of Shiva that is drenching himself, any Devata that you do Dhyanam of, if you do Dhyanam of them drenching themselves, when somebody is drenched, they are cold. They are wet. By virtue of being wet, they are feeling cool. The person who does that Dhyanam and the surrounding of that person will both be cool. That is why Adi Shankaracharya in Kanakadhara Stotram said, those who do Dhyanam of Lakshmi bathing herself every morning, their entire home and those surroundings will also be cool in whatever weather may be going on outside and whatever weather is going on inside. So this Swarupam of Shiva, when he is drenching himself with Amritam, this is where you have to catch on to Mrityunjaya Tattva. That Amritam is coming from the pots. It's also pouring from Chandra. Chandra is Amrita Kirana Swarupa is his name. There is a beautiful practice which we have now slowly forgotten, but many a home still practice this. On the day of Purnima, especially 2 Purnimas in the year, they will make sure, you have to go to Eastern India to understand this. They will make sure that they are out in the open sky and allow Chandrakiranas, Purna Chandrakiranas to fall on them. This is the night of Kojagiri or Sharat Purnima. Yes, both the Sharat Purnimas, that is Asvija Purnima as well as Kartika Purnima, this practice is to ensure that the rays of the moon are absorbed by us. To further enhance that, they put a bowl of milk. And you will see this in Dakshina Bharatam as well, that you place a bowl of milk and allow Chandra's reflection to fall in it. During that whole time period, you chant Lalita Sahasranamam or something about Devi so that you absorb that and then you accept that milk as prasadam. Because the bhavam is that Amritam is pouring from Chandra. Amritam is pouring from Chandra towards us. Imagine on him. Already the Swarupam has Amritam. Chandra is lending his own Amritam to it. On top of that, Ganga is doing this. All of these Amritams together are being poured on him. But here's the catch. There are also some other beings on his head, on his body. Who are they? Not so much Amritam from there, no? They're all Vishasarpas. All of them have incredible amounts of Visha. Nobody can tolerate that except his children. There's so beautifully, there's a shloka mentioned in the Kumara Sambhavam where one day the only people who can come close to him and not be terrorized by those snakes. We are all saying now, yes, beautiful dhyanam. If we go close, we'll know. But when you have Pita Bhavam or Prema Bhavam towards Paramatma or Putra Bhavam, all of these fears vanish. To beautifully explain that, Kalidasa talks about how Kumara, that is Muruga, one day Shiva has picked up Muruga. And when he's picked him up, Shiva is doing dhyanam. So Muruga does not want to disturb his father. But he's a baby, he wants to entertain himself. So Vasuki is slithering down Swami's neck. He pulls Vasuki closer to him just as a baby does. A baby is not differentiating between anything. They'll effortlessly pick up whatever they see in front of him. And then he's forced to open Vasuki's mouth and he's counting how many fangs are there. And just then when Shiva opens his eyes, he's telling him, see, this is how many fangs I just counted in. To that Kumara and that father and son who are lost in such deep rapture of each other, I bow down in Namaskaram. That is what the shloka of Kumara Sambhavam talks about. But it's such a beautiful moment for them, but for the rest of us, it's Vishasarpas. So much of Amritam, Visham is here on the body. Shiva is a body full of contrasts. For every portion that you will see, one aspect, you will see its counterpart. Ganga on that Jata Jutam is about Amritam. But the Vishasarpas are there on that same Jata Jutam. Here, there is, to represent the Visha, there is the Neela Kantha. And there is also the Vishasarpas. But there is an Amrita Kumbham. Shiva has both these. Everything that suggests positivity and at the same time, everything that suggests negativity. Because Shiva is talking about the nature of the world. And this is where Mrityunjaya becomes relevant to us. Because he is saying in this world, there are two kinds of experiences. There are experiences that bring you joy. There are experiences that bring you unhappiness. In varying degrees. If you put these as two ends of the spectrum, Sukham, Dukkham. Both these things are coming at you, Mishra Jivitam, they are coming in various permutations and combinations. That's all it is. Everything is an ornament for him. Sukham, Dukkham, he is making no differentiation between this. That is why one Bhakta said so beautifully, he's given the rest of the world Aishwaryam, but he took Bhasma and put it on himself. He is giving us all Annam because of the Karunyam of Annapurna, but he is eating Visham. So he holds all of this with absolutely no concern. But when he holds it on himself, he is saying the world is filled with Ghora, with things that can hurt you, things that you find repelling. It is also filled with Aghora. It's filled with things that are not Ghora. Aghora, it is not Ghora. For us, Aghora means, something and all. No. Aghora itself is suggesting. His name only is Aghora. Shiva's name is Aghora. So, both these are here. But if you want to find him, you don't find him unconnected in just one aspect of them. You find him in this and this. And when you recognize that Ghora and Aghora both are him, and you say Ghora should not bother me, Aghora should not tempt me, when you reach that state of not being affected by any of these things and saying whatever it comes, whatever may come my way, that is Shiva Prasadam. The second you have reached that stage, that is when you know you have truly understood Shiva Tattva. Aghorebhyo taghorebhyo ghora ghoratarabhyaha sarvebhya sarva sharvebhyo. May everything around me, it turns into Shiva Tattva. That is what happened to Prahalada. He is being thrown into a pit full of venomous snakes. Nothing is happening to him. Why? Because for him those venomous snakes are also Narayana. The air around him is also Narayana. So then what happens is, all of that divinity which is there as Ghora and is ready to attack you, based on your karmas, is no longer going to attack you because you saw divinity in it. So Mrityunjaya Tattvam is not something reserved for the last moment of our lives. For us, Mrityunjaya is just one mantram. But here, the idea is that the second I see, there is a possibility for me to forget this sukham, this dukkham, this person is causing this person is causing this, and to go beyond saying this is Shiva Prasadam. That's what happened to Markandeya. Markandeya also saw Yama and also saw the divinity in him, but he said, hold on. That bhavam, if you catch on to, a very different aspect of the world opens up. That can only be possible when his grace is there. But the beauty is, for Shiva's grace to happen, there is Jagannatha that is standing by his side. I think there cannot be a more beautiful example than to talk about how bhaktas have looked at time, the time that we are in. Constantly time is changing. He is Mahakaleshwara, she is Mahakali. All you have to do is say the one who is beyond time, who is not affected by time, you hold me. And if they hold, extraordinary things happen to us. But imagine, to talk about this, they themselves take on everything negative in the world onto themselves. Go to Samudra Manthana. What happens in that moment when Visham comes from the Amrita Sagaram, from the Kshira Sagaram? They all run to Parameshwara and say, will you drink it? In that moment, when he has to consume all of the poison, all of the toxicity which is there in 3 worlds, he has to consume this. In that moment, he looked at her and he said, will you give me permission? Good question to ask. She smiled and she said, go for it. Look at the context. She knows that it is Visham. She knows that it is poison. She knows that if he doesn't drink it, all the devas, all the asuras, everybody will go. Nobody can take those toxic fumes. But she knows that if it goes inside him, she's worried. Is she worried for him? He's Mrityunjaya, no? Why should she be worried for him? Outside it is causing havoc in the Bahya Lokas. Inside him are other Lokas. All of the Lokas should not get affected. So she says, you drink it. I have no worries at all. 2 bhaktas take 2 different stances on why she says this. One bhakta says, so beautifully, this comes in the Potana Bhagavatam in Telugu, where he says, Sarvamangala. Her name only is Sarvamangala. She is eternally auspicious and she is a Nitya Sumangali. She will eternally be a Sumangali. Her husband will always be there. So she says, you drink. I have a lot of faith in my Mangal Sutram. That does not mean that the strand was made in a certain jeweler's thing and it is a tight thread. What she says, my Mangalyam is very strong. Nothing will happen to my Bharta. You drink. Another Bhakta says, this happened Janani Tava Tatanka Mahima. This is the power of your earrings, Devi. Both these are very beautiful bhavams. If you look at Devi's earrings, Tatanka Yugali Bhuta, Tapanodupa Mandala. The one who wears earrings, Tatankas, are the earrings worn by female deities. Tapana is Surya's name. Udapa is Shashi, that is Chandra. Tatanka Yugali Bhuta, Tapana Udapa Mandala. The one who has Surya and Chandra as her earrings. Since she has Surya and Chandra as her earrings, our life is largely based on Surya and Chandra. Day and night is what is measuring our time over here. Now, when the context of him drinking poison has come, which might threaten his time, she is not threatened by time. She wears time as an ornament. So she said, time is in my ears, not even my hands. Time is in my ears, so nothing will happen to you. That is one bhavam. That's why Shankaracharya spoke about this in Saundarya Lahari. And this is the power of her earrings, that when you do dhyanam, in Lalita Sahasranam, this verse comes, Tatanka Yugali Bhuta Tapanodupa Mandala, you do dhyanam of the one who is Mrityunjaya's prerna Shakti. That you want Mrityunjaya's grace, just go to her and say, Amma, Surya and Chandra are in your control, Amma, you hold on to them. You please whisper. And it's so beautiful, no? The visualization that rishis saw Surya and Chandra here. Why? Because they said all the papas and the punyas that we do, we're either doing under Surya's guidance or Chandra's supervision. Both of them are constantly watching. Even on Amavasya Ratri they are there. Both of them are there. If you want to understand this, Aditya Hridayam will pick up another day. So, each karma that we do, no, they whisper into her ear, saying he did this, he did this, he did this. And she takes note and she keeps. So there's no escaping her record. This bhavam is about the Tatankas. When you do dhyanam like this, you will recognize her as the source of time. The one who informs time, the one who wears time as an ornament. Time is in her control. She is not in time's control. When you look at it from the bhavam of the Mangalyam, it leads to a question. Is she a Nitya Sumangali because he is Mrityunjaya? Because her husband is known to be an immortal? Or is he Mrityunjaya because she is a Nitya Sumangali? We will never know the answer to that question. All we know is we can bow down to that Dampatyam and say, in my surroundings, if there is anybody that is struggling with any kind of Mrityu. What is Mrityu? Death. Vedanta did not call Mrityu as death. Vedanta called avidya as Mrityu. Not recognizing Shashvata Tattvam, thinking everything around us, this is real, this is real, this is real, then what happens is at the time that we actually go, at the time that the body leaves, that the Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira have to exit this Sharira, something happens. It's just like being in another country when your visa has expired. If you have finished all your work in that country efficiently, Veda did not take the help of this visa example. I am taking that help just to make it easier. If you have finished all of the work that you had to do, you know that your visa is expiring, when you get onto the flight, your mind is at ease. But should you have some work left over there and you have bank accounts open and all kinds of attachments and connections there, your mind is going to be in two places. Oh no, I've left everything there, and you have to go back. It's exactly what happens when we have over-attachment to these circumstances. Oh yes, I have to be here, I have to be here, I have to be here. Oh no, what about my child? What about their marriage? What about this? What about that? Yama is pulling and you have to go there. Then what happens? You'll come right back here, is what you think, but we don't know. We don't know what we have done and what that addition will put us into what body. Mrityunjaya Tattvam is about recognizing, saying, give me the detachment to just be able to gently take one step aside and let that be gentle. When that time comes for me, let it be so gentle that I move away from everything and say, in my brief time here, in this journey, I did what I had to, now I'm ready to proceed. If there is readiness for the jiva, the yatana that a jiva goes through, Garuda Puranam talks about, the struggle that a jiva goes through, because the jiva is being pulled, all me, my world, my children, my family, my work, my everything, my bank accounts, that much me is pulling this side. The other side, the tussle is come saying, your time is up. That yatana is a difficult one. Mrityunjaya Tattvam is about saying, Swami, I don't want that for myself. I don't want my muscles to be pulled in two directions and I don't want to get that cramp. All I'm doing is surrendering to you now, because at that time I don't know where I will be, how I will be. I can say anayasena maranam vina dainyena jivanam, but I don't know. I don't know what my karmas are. What if I go when I'm in the hospital? What if I go in an accident? I don't know. That is why Shankaracharya said, Na karyanta kale manabhakkapyupeksha. Don't disrespect me at that time. What does that mean? That means now when my indriyas are working, I'm doing namaskaram, Swami. I don't know. I don't know, like Markandeya, if I have Ayush that is written for a fixed time. But if it is, whatever situation it is, I don't know. But right now with my indriyas, I'm doing namaskaram. This namaskaram, you count for that antakalam. And in that antakalam, you come and don't disrespect what you yourself said in Veda, which is you'll come for your bhakta, no? So come for me. Mrityunjaya Tattvam is about recognizing that divinity, saying, in that moment, let my journey be simple, let it be smooth, let it be gentle. And what an upamanam Vedam used, what an example it used. How gentle should that journey be? If you've ever grown vegetables, you will observe that there is one vegetable which beautifully detaches itself from the rest of the plant when it is ripe. There is no noise and hangama about it. If you look at big fruit trees, like apples and oranges, they all fall to the ground. Mangoes. From March onwards, we'll be mourning many of the loss of many mangoes that birds eat partially and they'll fall. All of that is gone for good. Because when there is gravity at work, there is all of this that's happening, right? But there is one vegetable how do you know and identify that it is ripe? Just because it detaches itself from the rest of the vine. That vegetable is cucumber. That cucumber just separates itself. And that's how you pick up a ripe cucumber. Vedam used this example. Vedam found Paramatma in divinity. The second portion of Mrityunjaya Mantram talks about this. Urva rukameva bandhanan mrityor mukshiyam amritat. Just as a cucumber detaches itself, Swami, from the rest of the vine, like that, remove me from the cycle of janma and mrityu, so that it's an effortless one and I don't have any attachments left over here. That mantram, to understand that mantram, we needed 1.5 hours. That it takes so much of tattvam to be able to recognize, let me live a life worthy of you detaching me like that. I cannot grow like a mango and then expect my end to be like that of a cucumber. Let me grow exactly like that, so that is the natural process that happens to me. That happens through grace, that happens through recognizing, look at the words. There is, Trayambakam is how it starts. To explain the Mrityunjaya Mantra itself is a mammoth task, but we'll just touch upon it. Trayambakam, 3 eyes. What are his 3 eyes? Surya Netram, Chandra Netram, Vahni Netram, Agni Netram. These are his Soma Surya Agni Lochanaha. He is the one who has these 3 eyes. With these 3 eyes he is watching. Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim. He is such a fragrant Lord. This cannot be explained, this has to be experienced. But why did they start the mantram with that? The Dhyana Shlokam of Mrityunjaya. Most of us are familiar with the Mrityunjaya Mantram, but there's also Dhyana Shlokam for him. Mrityunjaya Mantram requires swaram. It requires that it is chanted with that intonation, with everything in place. That is when it has that power and efficacy. But the Shlokam, anybody can read. So in the end of the Shlokam, Mrityunjayam Trayambakam is how that Shlokam ends. They took that only into the mantram and showed the power of that mantram. Where does this mantram come? This mantram comes in Vedam, in Yajur Vedam, in the Rudram. Before the Rudram, when the Dhyanam comes, we see Mrityunjaya, Amritena Plutam Shantam, Divya Bhoga Samanvatam. 11 chapters, 11 Anuvakas of Rudram go by, in which we find Namas Soma, Yacha, all the Namaskarams are done to him, and at the end it ends with Trayambakam Yajame. Mrityunjaya is at the beginning, the heart, and the end of Rudram. Mrityunjaya is entirely Shiva's power is shown in that Svarupam, and that's why it ends with that. But it begins with the words Trayambakam. Why are we paying homage to his eyes in particular? There's so many features on his body, no? He watches us with 3 eyes. The first eye is Surya Netra. Surya Netra, Surya's nature is to shed light and to dry us. You want to dry clothes, you need Surya only, no? So he dries us of all the accumulated karmas. And if there is any karma that is left which is not getting dried, he puts us into the Agni Netram. The Agni Netram will burn everything and bring it down to Bhasma. No karmas are left then, no? Then all he gives is Anandam. To represent Anandam is the Chandra Netram. Chandra Netra. Chandra always gives joy. Surya you can look at only for a few seconds no matter how joyous he is. After that you have to close your eyes. That's not the case with Chandra. You can keep looking at Chandra through the night. Ask any romantic, they'll tell you that. This bhavam, that through his 3 eyes, he's doing this. He's burning us of our papas. He's ridding us of any semblance of a karma bija. And then he's giving us the anandam and absorbing us. That is Mrityunjaya bhavam. There's one more rahasyam hidden in Trayambakam. When you look at his 3 eyes, the first one is Surya Netram. Surya, or this is one version, that this Dakshina Netram is always associated with Surya. But when you look at the Tattvam of the Trinetra, the burning first begins with the Agni. Because even Surya is using heat to burn us, right? The Agni, in Sanskritam, Agni is represented by the Akara or by the Akshara Ra. That is why Muthuswami Dikshitar said, Murahara, Nagadhara, Sarasijakara, Parama, Purusha, Pavanaja, Shubhakara, Suruchirakara, Giri, Varada, Vichara, Sarasa, Guruguha, Hridaya Sahachara, Narasimha. Because Narasimha is Agni Swarupam, Jwala Narasimha, Ugra Narasimha. When he came out of that stambha, it was completely Agni Swarupam. That's why he came on Swati Nakshatram, which is an Agni Nakshatram. So, Agni is represented by Ra, Arunachalanatham. The Ra will come so much in that because the Rakaram is this. So Rakaram is Agni Tattva. Surya is represented by the syllable or by the Akshara, I will not say syllable, by the syllable or by the Akshara A, or rather A. A belongs to Surya. So whenever in Vedam, these codings are done for certain mantras, that the essence of Surya is found in the Akshara A. Chandra, Chandrama Manaso Jataha is what the Purusha Suktam says. Chandra came from the mind of Paramatma. Mind is Manas. So they took that syllable, Ma. So Surya is A, Chandra is Ma. And Agni? Put them together in the same order. Ra, A, Ma. Rama. Rama hidden in his eyes. Want to understand this? Go to Kashi Kshetra. The Bilvachana that happens to Vishwanatha, on every Bilva they'll write Rama in Sinduram and then offer it to him. It's representing how he's constantly watching us. Rama is not just a character in an epic that is sitting on our bookshelf. Rama is that Surya Shakti, that Agni Shakti, that Chandra Shakti. Yadadityagatam tejaha jagat bhasayate khilam yat chandramasa yat chagno tat tejo vidhimamakam. Bhagavad Gita. Know that if there is light that is coming from the sun, the light that is coming from the moon, and the heat that is coming from any fire anywhere in this world, know it to be me. That is Mrityunjaya's eyes. Every time you look at the sun, say, oh, you are the one that's going to be there in that end moment for me. Not any tube lights, not any other artificial light. You are the light that I want and that I seek. Then you'll understand Trayambakam is Rama Tattvam that is inviting us to it. This Tattvam is saying, just do the Namam, just hold on to the Namam. The rest of the mantram, we all want to quickly chant it, but more than chanting it, understand it. Hear it with that bhavam. Hear it when it is chanted suswaram with that bhavam one time. And then it will change your perception, saying, oh, it's my Rama. That Tattvam invites us and it asks us to see and perceive life differently. And then comes his Anugraham. His Anugraham comes when we not only conduct ourselves in a worthy manner, but also recognize him to be all around. There is nothing in this universe but heat and cold. That heat and cold is here in these three. In Agni, Surya and Chandra. That heat and cold is in Shiva's body. For the heat, he has the Visham. That is why the Visham was kept here, because he did not want to affect the lokas inside or the lokas outside. So he kept it at the midpoint. The heat is represented in the Vishasarpas. The heat is represented in the Agni that Nataraja holds. But the coolness is represented in Ganga. The coolness is in Chandra. The balance between all of this. The one who is there in heat and cold. The one who is unaffected by both heat and cold. That is why he can remain in those cold mountains and not get affected. One Bhakta knew this and he said so beautifully, he said, Maulau Ganga. On top of your head is the cold Ganga. If you go to Gangotri, you will know how freezing it is, especially in the winter months. Maulau Ganga Shashankau. That Shashanka gives Amrita Kiranas. Amrita is known to cool the body down. This is Divya Amritam, not any other kind of liquid substance. Maulau Ganga Shashankau Kara Charana Tale Sheetalanga Bhujangaha. Head to toe you are covered with cold-blooded reptiles. To add to this scene, Vame Bhage Dayardra. On your left hand side is Dayardra. She is dripping with Daya. Daya is always considered to be a cooling and a flowing substance. Vame Bhage Dayardra. Who is that on your left hand side? Himagiri Tanaya. She herself is the daughter of the cold Himavan mountains. Himagiri Tanaya. And to add to this, Chandanam Sarvagatre. She has put Chandanam on herself. All of this. It's a little too cold, no? Put the AC on 18 degrees, you'll recreate a feeling of this for yourself. So much cold. Idam Sheetam Prabhutam. How do you take it? Aren't you the Lord of the Kanaka Sabha? Aren't you that one who glows in that fire and glows in that Sabha? Idam Sheetam Prabhutam. How do you take this? I know, you need a hot place to live, no? You are used to that, no? In Kanaka Sabha, in Chidambaram, that's where you dance and all of this heat is there. What are you doing in these cold mountains? I know one more place which is equally hard. Nirveda tapte yadi bhavati natte nityavaso madiye. My heart is burning like this with all these tapas because I'm thinking about samsara. It's the correct temperature I have set this AC to. You come here and you stay. You and I both will be happy. You are used to Kanaka Sabha, I am used to this world. You come here and you stay. That is how you can recognize Shiva in our lives. Let's say I'm not looking for you outside of all these situations. My life is going on. But in this, I'm making space for you. Markandeya did not say on the 16th day, he said in 16th year I'll go, no, that day or I'll do, no, Mrityunjaya Homam. Why from now? Checkbook charity also his parents did not do. Nam Magan Hesrili on Homa Madspedi anta, nobody said. He went and did. What sadhana you have to do, spend your life doing it. And when you do that, the Amritam that Swami has is not only the Amritam of the self. The Amritam has two portions here. One is the Amritam that goes from the Mooladhara Chakram till the Sahasrara Chakram and then flows. This flowing is Bisatantu Taniyasi. That flow is Sudha Sara Bhivarshini. That Sudha of the self, which opens itself to a seeker. But that Sudha is also mixed with Bhakti Sudha. It is mixed with the Amritam of our Kala. We talk about Chandra Kalas, but the Kalas that we carry within us, what are the bhavams that we nurture towards the divine? That he mixes into his Amritam. And he says, oh, this Bhakta is doing this for me. And he bathes himself in Bhakta Bhava. This is why this Samskriti found Mrityunjaya in Kala. It said Mrityunjaya is that Lord who recognizes art as a form of expression. And he takes that artistic offering, provided it is done with that bhavam. And he takes it upon himself and says, I am bathing with this now. When that Bhakta's time comes, I will be there. By that Bhakta's side, I will whisper Taraka Namam wherever they are and I will convert that Kshetram to Kashi for them and absorb them right into me. So Mrityunjaya Tattvam is not restricted to that Antakalam alone. It is preparation for that Kalam. That is just a transition Kalam. All we want to know is when I cross over, you be by my side. And for you to be by my side, let me recognize your divinity. Let me allow myself to be drenched in your stories, your tattvam, your philosophy, so that wherever I go, whatever I do, I am remembering you. When you reach that stage, that is when we can say, Stotrani sarvangiro yad yad karma karomi tat tadakhilam. Any karma I do, be it cooking, be it ironing my clothes, whatever it is, Shambho tavaradhanam. Shambho, this is for you. The smallest of karmas he will accept. And all of this is preparation for that moment. That moment is a uniquely personal moment, because in that moment nobody else will be there. Physically they may be there, but here only he is there. Chitsabhanayaka alone is there. For us to meet our maker, that moment's preparation is the life of Shiva sadhana. Call him Shiva, call him Vishnu, call her Shakti. The names are changing, the tattvam is remaining identical. I think with that, I will leave us with the thought of that svarupam that is drenching himself, and may one drop of that amritam which has entered through his katha, may it sustain and remain in the body. Because Bhagavad Katha is so powerful because it contains bindus of his svarupam. This svarupam, his nature is amrita svarupaha. That is why there is an Upanishad called as the Jabali Upanishad. In the Jabali Upanishad, there are rishis who say, we want to know about amritam, and then that is when they learn about Rudra. Rudra is amrita swarupa. That amritam, the more we internalize, the more it comes out from all our indriyas, and the more we absorb, the more chitta shuddhi happens. The more chitta shuddhi happens, the closer we go to him. The closer we go to him, the faster we get absorbed into him. Ultimately, from here till Sayujya. So may that journey be meaningful for each one of us in every portion of our lives, and to have had the bhagyam to share these thoughts that he wished on a Somavaram, Sa Uma Varam. It is a day when he is worshipped along with Uma. So it is called because technically, astrologically, Shiva is to be worshipped on Adivaram. That is the day that is ruled by Surya. Surya's Adhidevata is Rudra. Soma or Chandra is ruled by Gauri Devi. Gauri and Shiva we like to worship together. That is why we said Sa Uma. Along with Uma we worship you on Mondays. When they are together, when both of them are together, he is that fire, Rudragni. She is water. Both of them come together. Rama Tattvam only is happening. All of this leads us to that one idea, that they are the perfect balance, and mainly they lead our lives to find that perfect balance. With that, offering this entire satsang and everything that has emerged within and without to the feet of that Mrityunjaya Chandrashekara, that Chandrashekharendra Saraswati, who is watching over this home now and eternally, and who has given us collectively the bhagyam of sitting at his Padapadmas and allowing one drop of his Kathamritam to enter our hearts. Sarvam Shri Lalita Parameshwari Parabrahma Swarupini Padaravindarpanamastu Swasti.